Alright, been studying some things underneath here. Looks to me like when shop had been taking this tranny out, from what I can tell, it doesn't look like they ever took anything out from the bottom. So I think they may have been doing the work by pulling it from the top, which I still think is easier, although it doesn't make sense when somebody's got a lift where they wouldn't follow the Ford procedure. But from what I can tell from underneath on the exhaust, nothing had been taken off, and all the bolts on the subframe look like they hadn't been touched. So I'm going to take a guess that these guys have been doing the work by pulling it from the top. And since none of the exhaust bolts look like they'd ever been touched, I mean, they're still corroded onto the point that in a year and a half, I can't imagine they would look like they look. I think what they were doing was taking the power takeoff unit and unbolting it, moving, having the shafts out, and they may have just pulled it to the side far enough to pull the transmission out from the top without actually taking the power unit, takeoff unit off. I mean, they took it off, but I don't think they removed it from the car. And that actually, I think, is maybe not a bad idea. And I think I may try that. I'm going to use this car, even though this is a good transmission. I think I'm going to use this car to learn a little bit how to do that. I don't like being under there and taking the subframe off with this thing off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull the shafts out, half shafts on either side. And I know this is a little bit more work. There'll be a little extra work to do what I'm going to do. But I'm going to pull the shafts out, and because I don't like laying under this car up in the air, even though it's on jack stands. Some people think, oh, it's fine, yeah, it's great. Well, I don't like it. I'm going to pull the shafts, and I'm actually going to put the wheel back on and put the ramps back under it. I'll feel a lot safer if I know that I've got that extra margin of safety. I just don't like laying under there without something like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these shafts out. So it'll only take me about 20 minutes to go ahead and drop the transaxle down here, unbolt the shaft, take it back out, and I'm actually going to put these back up in without the shaft in it, and then put the wheels back on, and that way I think I'll have a little extra margin of safety there that I really want. I've pretty much convinced myself I'm pulling this from the top, and I'm not going to drop it back down. If I find for some reason I've got to drop the subframe and do it the Ford way, certainly I will. But then I got to figure out between my engine hanger, then I've got to support it. Right now, if I leave the subframe, I know the motor's supported on this side, and I've only got to support it on that side, which means I probably didn't need what I got. But I'll do that, and then I've just got to figure out what I'm going to attach to. I'll figure out what I have to attach to pull this transmission out. I don't know what I attach to do that. Got a lot of stuff on the top here that's bolted to it. You have to take off regardless. Got a lot of hoses and other stuff that's actually bolted to the transmission housing as it is. But we'll figure something out. I'll probably put some sort of a hanger on the bolts themselves, and certainly I can do it on that side. I don't yet know what I will bolt to on this side. Hopefully I can find some sort of a housing, maybe where the anti-roll goes in. I can find something that I can get at least two parts of an engine leveler, and I can gently pull this up, turn it, and pull it out of here. Again, I'm kind of taking my time. This is going to be a long process for me, just because I'm figuring it out as I go. I'm not exactly following the Ford procedure. Again, I don't have a nice two-pole lift to lift this car up and do it the way you're really supposed to. So this is definitely a do-it-yourself-at-home process. I'll record it, and hopefully whatever I learn is useful for somebody. I've seen a couple videos on people doing this, but they're pretty vague, and they're not very detailed. So I'm going to try and be a little more thorough in what I learn. All right, finally remembered my camera, so I have to do this off my phone. Other my phone videos, the transfer case is out. I opted to drop it all the way out. I thought I could maybe deflect it and move it out of the way. Decided it'd be easier just to take it out, so I did. It's the 4 bolts they talked about. Come on, focus. Hang on here, my focus here is fighting. So that's out. Some of the bolts were hard to get at. Got my helper. A couple more things here. I don't know how well this will show through the camera, but as I started taking more and more things off and exposed more and more of this transmission, well, you can see there's one major bolt that the shop didn't put back in. That bolt they didn't put back in. There's 2 more underneath they didn't put back in. Very concerning about the lack of detail that they went through in putting this transmission back in. I have other videos showing all the various brackets and everything. Like this whole hose assembly was completely left disconnected. It was just sitting like this. Not one of the bolts was put back in. None of the bolts for the wiring were put back in. The cover plate for the access plate for the flywheel cover wasn't put back. I mentioned that in earlier videos. So just the deeper I get into this thing, the more angry I get at the poor attention to detail that was done when this was put back in and out. I really wish I had some way of getting some remediation on what they did. It's just so friggin' bad. At any rate, you can see I've got the engine stand on, and we're gonna hang the engine. Since I'm coming out the top with this, I don't have to disconnect the subframe, so the motor will stay mounted on that side. It will be hanging on this side, so we'll hang it from the engine stand on the one leg here. And tonight I'm going to pull off the last of the lines for the transmission cooler. I guess I am going to go ahead and empty the transmission fluid out of this. It was relatively new, but I'm gonna take it out and empty the cooler lines, and I think we're ready to unbolt and figure out how we're gonna lift this out. So next video is should be us doing that.